and welcome to the Cheer Up Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Hunt, and with me is my wonderful co-host, speaker, and author, Sherry Swalwell. How are you today, Sherry?
I am doing fantastic. And you know, Kara, I was thinking the whole month of February when we've been taping, God has blessed me, at least, on my part of the country or in my part of the country with beautiful sunshine. What's it been like for you?
Cold. The Midwest is it's cold, you know. And like I mentioned in previous podcasts, I don't mind cold weather. I don't even mind snowy or frosty weather. The only one that really bothers me is like when it's so icy and, it's just not safe to be out on the roads, whether walking or driving.
Agreed.
I am clumsy. I am one of those people that needs a bag of salt or ice melt or something when I walk out the door in ice. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because I need to be shaking it in front of me to make sure that I do not slip, or something, because heaven knows I have had my fair share of falls, and things like that. So, no, that's the only time I don't like is when I have to go out and it's icy out, or even worse, here we call it black ice, but that ice that you
Oh,
can't see?
Yes, that's the worst.
That's the worst because you're sitting out, you're driving along, and you're like, okay, I'm good, and you don't even notice the black ice. When you're walking, you don't notice it. When you're driving, you don't notice it. So I'm usually the person that's inside during days like that. And I'm admiring it from inside.
Well, I have a funny story about black ice, and this will date me, and that's okay. But back when I was like 18 or 19, so I had just graduated from high school, and I was at my community college, I sang in the choir at my church, and I think it was right around Christmas time, and I was going there because I think we were going to be, I think it was a Christmas cantata or something like that. Well, so I was all dressed up. I had on, a really pretty black skirt and I don't know, some kind of shirt. I don't even remember. But I had pantyhose. Like I said, this is going to date me because I don't wear pantyhose anymore. But I had on pantyhose, and then I had on these really pretty high heel black pumps. Well, I parked in the driveway, and sure enough, it was black ice in the parking lot, down at the lower end of the parking lot. Well, our church was big enough that you had to walk up. So there was a lot of ice that I had to walk on to get into the church building, and I was by myself. I wasn't dating anybody, and I had driven myself, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm like, okay, how am I going to get from point A to point B without falling on my butt? Because I also am very clumsy. I took my shoes off and started to walk barefoot in pantyhose because I'm like, I cannot maneuver this in black high heels. I can't walk in high heels very well anyway, let alone on black ice. And then one of the other choir members, he was a married man. He saw me struggling, and so he came over and offered me his arm. So I'm still walking barefoot, but at least I didn't fall and ruin my skirt. But I was like, who does that? But I'm like, me, because, it's like freezing cold. My feet are icicles by the time I get in, but I'm like, I've got to get inside. How am I going to do it safely? So take off some shoes and walk in my pantyhose.
I'm so sorry, Sherry.
No, it's hilarious. I can still see myself doing it. I think that's why he took pity on me.
I can imagine. Oh,
yeah,
my
goodness. I think that's why he took pity on me, because he was like, oh, my gosh, she's barefoot.
I don't even know. Like, how did you warm your feet after that?
I don't think they did get warm. I think they stayed permanently frozen for about a week, but yeah.
Yes, I'm trying to imagine. You're going in there, you're trying to stand, you're trying to sing, your whole body is like frozen. And you can't do it in heels, right? So you gotta at least the pantyhose will provide some type of traction, maybe, unless they were silk pantyhose.
Well, maybe I would have been smarter if I had just brought boots. I think that's why my mom always had like 2 pairs of shoes. I didn't think that I was only 18. My brain wasn't fully developed, so I didn't think that.
Yes, we can always blame it on that, because I remember my grandmother used to always tell me, Always have extra something in the car, extra, especially in the winter. Have a shovel, have this, and have some boots, and have a blanket, and have this. And I'm like, what? I don't have time for all that in my car, and everything. And then it's at times like this that you mentioned that we're sitting there going, age does make you wiser in some cases, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Speaking of age, I remember I heard something recently where they were talking about how to know whether you're young or whether you're old. And they were talking about how if you happen to be outside and you fall, and if all of your friends and everyone's laughing at you and, and taking videos or whatever, then you're young. If you happen to fall outside and everyone's rushing over to you going, oh, my goodness, what in the world? Oh, my goodness, we need an ambulance, stuff like that. They're like, then you're old,
I love that.
I'm like, hey, wait a minute. What if you're the one calling for the ambulance?
Exactly.
What if you're the one calling for help and everyone else is just laughing, right? So I'm like, does that make you old? And I'm sitting there going, I could just easily see with the people I'm around doing both, laughing and trying to help me up.
Exactly.
At the same time. Huh?
Exactly. I can totally picture that for myself too.
Yeah. And I'll probably be the one laughing the hardest, so maybe that makes me young, right?
There we go.
I'll be the one laughing and crying and asking you to dial 911. Okay?
There you go.
And I'm probably not hurt. My husband's like, you're so dramatic, like when I fall or do something, or whatnot. But I'm like, it's not that I'm dramatic. I just have a low tolerance for pain.
There you go.
I just have a very low tolerance for pain. So what you may consider just a nuisance, I'm thinking it's an ER emergency. You'll be fine. Just put some ice on it. Your ankle is not broken. I'm like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, my goodness, look at it. And it's not broken. But it felt like it broke. That's all that matters to me.
Exactly.
You don't need an ambulance. You'll be fine. And I'm like, it's broken. It's broken. Oh, it's not broken. You'll be fine. And I'm like, but it feels like it's broken. To me, that constitutes an emergency. We're in a crisis here, type of situation. So, but the best thing to do is help me ease the pain and put me to sleep. That's probably the best way.
There you go.
Just find a way to put me to sleep and give me something for the pain, and I'll be okay. Because otherwise, I'm going to be it'll be a big mess. And like I said, I'll probably be laughing and crying and dialing 911 at the same time. So, but I don't know. When you were telling that story, you were talking about how, falling and everything else. That kind of popped up in my head about how they say you can tell the difference between being young and old.
Exactly.
I'm like, but there's a little caveats there too, So, but anyway, I hope everyone is having a great laugh with us this morning. February morning. So, but you know what? Scripture tells us laughter is to make the heart merry. Am I right, or did I twist that?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And what we've been talking about is a fantastic segue into what we're going to be talking about, what our topic is today, and that is friendship. Friendship and love. And that is exactly what we're talking about today. For the month of February, we have been talking about love extravagantly, basically. And the first week we talked about agape love, that type of perfect love, that type of love that God and Jesus demonstrated for us what that type of love is. And so if you want to go back and listen to the first week of February, that's when we talked about agape love. The second episode in February, we talked about eros, or erotic type of love, that passionate, sensual, sexual, intimate type of love to be found between a man and a wife type of love. And again, that's the second episode that we did in February. Last week, we talked about
storge or storge type of love, Storge. And again, it's from a bigger Greek word that I don't even want to try to pronounce again, that talks about that type of cherished love that we have for our kindred, mainly like a parent and a child type of love. So if you want to listen more about that type of love, again, just go back to the third podcast for the month of February. And this week, we're going to be talking about and wrapping up this love extravaganza with another type of love, and it is called a Philia type of love. Am I saying that right, Sherry? Philia?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's the way it's pronounced. I think so. And it is, well, okay, I was right. Philia type of love, which is another word for friendship. In the King James Version, it's can be found in James 4:4, where it talks about, ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. And the word friendship there in the first part of that verse is talking about the philia, which is like the Greek word, which is like the Greek translation of that word, friendship. And it's talking about friends and family type of love. And basically, like in that scripture, he's saying, you're having this family type of love with the world, and that's not what this is about. That's what he's talking about in that particular thing. But philia, and if I'm not mistaken, it also kind of plays in the role of, am I correct, Sherry, like in the state of Philadelphia? I'm sorry.
Yes.
The city.
Because
the
Philadelphia
city.
the city of Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. Yep.
Yes, city. I said state, so forgive me. I meant city. City of brotherly love is like in Philadelphia, and so it's like that brotherly, friendship type of love that we should have with our friends and with our family, but not of the world. That James 4:4 so lovingly reminds us. What do you think, Sherry?
Oh, I love it. I completely agree with you. Do you want to read James 4:4?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to read James 4:4, or would you like me to read it?
No. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God.
That's right. You read it. You started the whole thing off with that. So that's my fault.
I started the whole thing off with it, and it's talking about that friendship type of world. That friendship with the world that you ever have those friendships that you're in and you just know in the end that it's just not going to end well, but you're still friends with them anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know for myself and for I could just imagine other people have been in that type of situation too. You're friends with them, you're drawn to them, you don't even know why. You don't even know why you want to be friends with them. But something in you have this discernment, as a Christian, and you're going, I don't think this friendship necessarily is going to end well, but you keep doing it, you keep pursuing it, and it all ends up falling apart. And that's the type of friendship you don't want. But you do want that type of brotherly, sisterly, kindly, tenderly, familiar type of love with friends. And that's what I believe this particular type of love is talking about.
There are so many great examples of that in the Bible, too. I think my favorite one is Jonathan and David. And I was sitting here.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Well, I was sitting here listening to you, and I was thinking to myself, there's a bunch of other ones, too, and which I can't think. Oh, like Paul. Who was he really close to when he went off and they were ministering together? Do you remember Paul in the New Testament?
You mean when they were prisoners, or who he was? Who he mentored? He mentored Timothy, and then I think he was in prison with, was it Silas?
Yeah. Yep. Paul and Silas were in prison together. Yeah, and then Jesus, he himself is a great example of it, because he not only had the disciples, but he had the three closer disciples, the ones that he went to and that he asked to help keep watch in the Garden of Gethsemane. So
Right,
he's the
right.
best example of it. But I love that. Like, sitting here just listening to you talking about it just made me think about all the different wonderful examples that we have from the Bible of what brotherly love truly is. And I mean, you can exchange brotherly love for sisterly love, but it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. It's just that friends and family type of love that
Exactly.
we all want, we all hope to have, and some of us have it, and I just want to stick a reminder in there to nurture that type of love. Don't take it for granted. It's not that type of love that you really want to take for granted. Friends don't like to be taken for granted. Family definitely does not like to be taken for granted. And as a person, I don't like to be taken for granted, So, but it's just one of those things that, I think that a lot of people, they know that I love them. They know that I care about them. So I don't have to call them. I don't have to text them. I don't have to email them. I don't have to visit. I think a lot of times we take that for granted, especially, and you know what, it tends to happen in the closest relationships, right, Sherry?
Oh, I think that that's where it happens the most, to be honest with you. I know I'm in a season right now where I feel like work is all consuming. And I feel like, I don't know if it's true or not, but I feel like I'm taking my family for granted, that I know that they know that I love them, so it's okay, I can work longer, I can do this. And I don't want to be that person. So I'm deliberately stepping away from work. I'm deliberately leaving things undone so that I can have the one night a week where I work late instead of 4 nights a week or 5 nights a week, where I, try to cut it off at a certain time so that my family knows that they're top priority. I mean, I know that work, you have to put work in. You can't ignore work. You can't turn your back on work. But work, I'm trying to live by that adage that I work to live. I don't live to work. And sometimes,
absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes that line gets really blurry just because of so many things that you're trying to do. And if you're going from one goal to another goal, then you do have to take on extra in that transition period. And I think it regardless, even if you're in a transition period where you're trying to transition from one job to another job, or you with all of the things that are going on in life, you have to take on double duty or whatever, it's a good idea to, like Kara said, not take your family for granted. So for instance, our son, every Wednesday, he gets out of school early. Well, every other Wednesday we go grocery shopping. Every other Wednesday we will go and grab a pretzel at Sam's just because we can. He knows he's special. That's my way of teaching him or showing him that he's special. I've talked before on the podcast where the 13th year that our children are home. So I did it with our oldest. I'm doing it with our middle one right now. Once a month, I'll take them out to eat, whether it's for breakfast, whether it's for lunch, just the two of us, just so that they know that they're special. My husband, he loves ices. So, like I was thinking, honestly, that today when I go to pick him up, or when I go to pick up our son from school, I'm going to stop by and grab an icy because I haven't done that in a while. And it's just my way of letting him know that I appreciate all of his hard work, that I let him know that he's seen and that he matters, and that the things that he likes, I like, and that I want to give back to him the way that he gives to us. So yeah, I think that we need to do that across the board with our friends and with our family. I completely agree with you, Kara. I think that is so important.
It is absolutely important. And I remember a well-known pastor was saying, and the reason I say well-known is because this particular pastor traveled a lot. a lot. A lot of his time was spent traveling, and a lot of his times, for various reasons, his wife couldn't join them. And, they had kids at home and whatnot. And I remember him saying, it comes to a point to where even though you're doing something and you're not doing anything bad, you're doing something good, you still just can't take that for granted. That, oh, she knew who she was getting married to in the beginning. Oh, she knew I was going to be, she agreed with me to take on this ministerial role, and everything else. So there shouldn't be any sore feelings or, they shouldn't feel, left out or that they're not heard or seen. And he's like, he didn't want to take that for granted. And so it's like every time he would go out of town, like he would make sure that like some flowers or roses were delivered to her house, to their house, or something to say, hey, I know I'm out on the road. I know I'm out doing this and everything else. And in her case, she really appreciated the flowers. She's like a flower rose person, and so he was doing that to just say, hey, I know I'm gone. I know I'm busy. I know I'm in this city. Yesterday I was in that city, but I'm just sending you something, let you know that I'm not taking you for granted, that I appreciate you holding down the home front. I appreciate you keeping me up in prayer, and everything like that. And I just think that is just so awesome to be able to do that, to recognize that, even though that person may know exactly what they got into, so to speak, it doesn't mean you could take advantage of that situation.
Agreed. And
everyone needs and loves to be reminded of how that they haven't been forgotten in the bigness and the busyness of a busy life.
And how much more would Satan love to put that seed of lies, sow that root of lies, that, they're off doing their thing and they don't even care about us here at home. How much more are you able to show God's love by nipping that in the bud so that lie can't be even planted?
Exactly. So the seed is not planted, let alone entertained, because you're letting them know, and like I said, with his particular wife, it was flowers. With me, I probably just want a quick letter. I'm not talking like, take out the ink pen and a notepad and write 6 or 7 pages. I'm talking 3 or 4 lines,
exactly.
or something like that. Just those little bitty, things. And actually my husband would probably prefer that because, regarding budget, and how much like 2 or 3 dozen roses a week costs, right?
Oh, yeah.
So knowing him, he would probably love to jot something down, on a quick note and just mail it to me. Something that I'm not expecting, and then when you're having a hard day with the kids and you're like, oh my goodness, this would have to be the week where I won't see him for another week and a half, and I got this mini crisis going on with this kid, and then this other one is stirring up a whole lot of mess and everything, and I could really use that person here, but he's probably not thinking about me because he's off busy spreading the word, he's doing this and everything else while I'm sitting here trying to hold this together. And then all of a sudden you open up the mailbox and then you got a letter and a note. That to me is just so precious. And that is something that you really cherish. Or you got flowers. Or you open up the pantry and you realize he left you or bought your favorite snack and or drink, or you go outside and you realize that your car has been washed and that he's cleaned it up, all the kids' stuff out of it, and everything. Just those little things. It doesn't have to be something big. Just something that your spouse would notice and appreciate, in a way of just saying that they haven't been forgotten. And the same way with friends. It's like I love when I get a phone call from a friend that I have been out of contact with for a while. That just absolutely makes my day. It just makes my day. And because they've been busy, I've been busy, they got a family, I have a family, and we just haven't been able to connect the dots as often as we would like. And then just to get that phone call or that card or something saying, hey, just thinking about you. I know life has got us going crazy right now, but just want you to know I was thinking about you today, and, here's this little note. I really love that, and I think that as Christians, especially women, we could do more of that.
Agree. Yes, I agree.
Some people are very do it. Yeah.
Some people are very gifted in that. I think that we need to ask God, where's our gifting? Because if it's not our gifting, not that we shouldn't do it, but it won't come naturally. But we should ask God what our gifting is and how can we use what we're gifted in to bless those around us, friends, family, et cetera, et cetera. Because if it's in our realm of gifting, it's going to come so much more naturally, and it's not going to feel forced, and we're not going to have to, it's not going to feel weird. It's not going to feel like a foreign pair of shoes or a new pair of shoes. Not to say that we shouldn't stretch ourselves and go outside of our comfort zone sometimes, but I think if we ask God, he would be more than happy to tell us, and then we can use that as the way. Having said that, though, we also need to weigh in what is if we're talking about our spouse or if we're talking about a friend, like if a friend absolutely positively loves a hug but hates letters, then you should meet them in person and give them a hug every once in a while instead of always just sending a card once a week, because that's not going to mean anything to them.
Exactly. And you're right. It's like come out of your own natural givings. I have a friend who she had to move out of state some years ago, and when I get a gift from her, I'm like super excited because she's one of those people in only my dreams I can be, and that is someone who is really good with crafts.
Ooh, yeah.
One of those people. I mean, you give me something and you ask me to make something out of it, and I'm like cross-eyed. It's like,
it never looks like it does in my mind. In my mind,
never.
It looks so awesome. And then I do it, and I'm like, okay, nobody can even tell that's what it is. This stinks.
And then you get someone like them, as you can tell I'm talking with green with envy, and they can take it and they're like, oh, this is all you got to do. And then next thing you know, it looks like this masterpiece, and you're sitting there going, what? How did that even happen? And she's one of those people. You can just give her a handful of stuff, and she's going to make a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful masterpiece out of it. And that is so her. She's been doing that for as long as I've known her, and it's been over 20 plus years. That is what she does, whether it's needlepoint, needlepoint sewing, crafting, DIYing. That is her natural gift. And she does that. And so it's like when I get something from her, especially since we don't live close by anymore, I'm like excited because I'm like, I wonder what she got me now. What she made now, or something like that. But would I ever send someone a DIY gift? Trust me, you don't want it.
Me either.
It's not going to look like the way that I thought it looked, like they told me it's going to look on Pinterest, right? So it's like because I'm just not gifted in that area, and I can sew, but I can't do masterpieces. I can't do needlepoint, or something. But what I can do is pick up the phone and call, when you're on my mind or whatnot. And something I used to do was especially if someone came to me in my dreams, I haven't seen them for a while, and I would dream about them, and, I'd pick up the phone and say, hey, haven't talked to you in a while, haven't seen you in even longer, but, I had a dream about you last night, and I'm like, you know what, I just need to call you. And so I'm just calling to say hi or whatnot. I would leave the voicemail. Well, that kind of ended up backfiring because people are like, what, you had a dream? Like, what was it? Was it good? Was it bad? And so that can kind of backfire a little bit. So I don't do that anymore. But I am of the belief that if God puts someone in my dreams, especially if it just comes random. You know what I mean? It's like I haven't really been thinking necessarily about this person or something, but then I have a really detailed dream about them, and it could be the dream wasn't good or bad. It was just a dream. They were in it. Then I'm like, God, is that your way of telling me I need to reach out to them? And that's just the way I look at it.
I do too. I usually wake up and pray for them because I figure
yes, that too. Absolutely. That's the first thing I do because it usually hits me around 2 or 3 in the morning, or something. And go ahead, Sherry.
Oh no, that was all I was going to say is that I'm the same way. That when God puts somebody on my heart, I pray for them because I figure that that's why they showed up when they did, especially if I haven't talked to them or thought of them in months.
Right, and so you're right. The first thing I do is pray for them and lift them up. And then if I have time during it, if it really sticks with me, you kind of get that feeling, like I should probably reach out to this person. Because sometimes I can pray for them and then it's okay, right?
Right.
It doesn't really continue to bother me throughout the day. But then if it keeps coming up and keeps coming up and keeps coming up, I'm like, okay, I probably should just try to reach out and contact this person. I'm not always successful. And getting them, at that particular time or whatnot. But I do want to be obedient to that type of discernment, or that nudging that, I may be getting to just reach out necessarily to that person. And you never know. You never know. You never know what the situation may be or what's going on or something like that. And I do believe that God will put people in your dreams, like I said, for you to reach out to. And sometimes they're family members as well. It doesn't have to be friends,
Agreed.
or something. So it's just one of those things. It's just having, again, that Philia type of love, that friendship type of love, that friends and family type of love, that brotherly, that sisterly type of love, to just spread to people and just embrace and just love the people that God has placed in your path. And that is actually a blessing to have that type of love. And especially if you happen to be surrounded by it. That is, you're truly, truly blessed.
Agreed. So I want to ask our listeners, Kara, which of the 4 loves that we talked about was the most challenging for them to think about and to hear about? And which one came the easiest to them? Is there anything, listeners, that you heard that you want to put into practice in your own life? Do you have other examples or ideas to share with us and to maybe share on the Facebook group, the Cheer Up Podcast Facebook group? We are at the end of our Love Extravagantly series, and next week we're going to start a whole new series. But I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to make you come back next week so you can hear and find out then. I'm going to keep it a surprise, but I think that you'll love it. So we just want to hear from you. Which one resonated the best with you? Which one is more of a struggle for you? Which one, and what ideas and tips and examples do you have to help broaden the rest of us? Because we all want to grow and we all want to do things, keep growing and stretching and becoming more and more of who God wants us to be, to encourage other people. So John 16:33 tells us that these things I have spoken to you, that in me you will have peace. In this world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I, Jesus Christ, has overcome the world. Head over to Kara's website, KaraRHunt.com, or my website, SherrySwalwell.com, if you want to find out things that we're doing and new and upcoming projects. Do you need prayer or encouragement? Do you want to talk to us about something that you might not necessarily want to include in the whole Facebook group? Head over to cheeruppodcast@gmail.com and drop us a private line. We'll be happy to pray with you. We'll be happy to encourage you. We'll be happy to listen to you. We are so glad that you are all here. We love spending time with you, and we cannot wait to come back next week for a new series, a new podcast, a new episode, and we hope that you'll join us then. Have a great rest of your week.